Hello, welcome everybody to an edition of what we call Brown Box. I'm your host, Ryan Harsch.
And I'm Chris LeRoy.
Hi everyone. And on Brown Box, we bring in some of our favorite albums and discuss them. Simple as that. We put them in a box that's brown. So that's hence the name Brown Box.
That's
right?
a very clever title.
Thank you.
Given the construct.
It's actually, the box is very familiar to some of you that watch our other segment called Dylan Box. It might be the same box. It might not be.
It should be turned backwards.
But I digress. So we're gonna look at we brought in one album each. We're gonna talk about them. Very different, but it really kind of reflects our tastes and what we're into. So Chris, why don't you reach in the old brown box there and pull out the old brown shoe?
Okay. Well, a good guess,
Hey.
possibly, almost.
Oh my! And
This
sealed.
Is, this
Oh,
is sealed.
okay.
This is brand new. It's like from Target. Or
Okay,
something.
yeah, that's where I got mine.
Yeah. This is an album some people may know. It's by the band called the Beatles. It's called Let It Be. The reason I'm picking this for a brown box is that there's been such a resurgence about the Beatles because of the Get Back documentary. There's folks who really, really loved that series and where it led. And you really did get to see an album that seemed impossible in the first third of that film.
Oh yeah.
It seems like there's nothing. There is nothing.
The only one holding it together is Ringo.
Yeah.
Which is like, okay.
Yeah, and I can do Ringo.
Yeah.
From Get Back.
Right. Very bored.
There you go. He's just kind of waiting.
Yeah.
But yeah, he keeps it rolling, and it just seems so impossible for them to have any product when it's said and done. When you're watching these sessions, and everything seems so slapdash and poorly done, and all the animosity and all these other stories that go around. And it isn't till the very end of the third segment that you see some of these songs pulling together, and then you have this rooftop, amazing.
Oh yeah.
Now that you see it in total,
Very cool.
this amazing culmination of what it means to be a band, what it means to like each other, what it means to be creative together,
and kind of rediscover why they're doing what they do.
and find kind of what they were trying to get back to in a way. But it makes you go back to this album, of which everyone has Let It Be, and it's, for many people, it's probably one of the lesser Beatle efforts. And it really is unfair because does any album have a whole documentary to set it up? But there's something amazing about this album in context of the documentary. So too,
Okay.
that on the Lo-Fi Lounge, we're going to do the very last will and testament of the Get Back.
The last word, final word.
Final word.
Okay.
Because everyone's already got a chance to save their stuff, 3 months ago. And so we're going to do our own thing. But
Okay.
what comes from this music and why this is a great brown box piece is it would be a great album if you hadn't watched the documentary to listen to and see where it fits in your Beatle canon. I don't know if there's someone who wouldn't have heard this album, but there might be. If you listen to this album and then go watch that documentary and flip it the other way around,
Right.
because there's some beautiful songs. There are Two of Us, Across the Universe. Even I had a place in my heart for One After 909.
Oh, yeah.
So my friends were saying, well, it's
jam.
just the Beatles. It just sounds like this old beat up song. I
Yeah,
go,
but
what do you think music came from?
it's one of the first songs they ever played together.
It comes
Literally.
from old beat up songs. That's
Right.
how you get good.
Yeah.
And this album has a spirit that comes through whether or not you saw the documentary. But
You
with
should
that,
see if you haven't seen it.
if you haven't seen it, listen to the album first.
Yeah.
Then go back, watch the thing, and then before you go to bed that next week, because you've been watching this thing, just listen to the album one last time and just marvel at what creativity is about. How do you, with your friends, with your bandmates, even in the darkest hours, find a way to make good music? And that's what happens on this album.
Outstanding.
Yeah. So that's Let It Be from the
pick.
Beatles. Yeah.
And that's a great plug for an upcoming edition of the
Lo-Fi
show.
Lounge.
Yeah, absolutely. Which will be coming to you very soon.
Very soon.
Well, I picked something that was there. It's a band that's a little different, and they're from the same island. And so my pick for this week is The Fall. It's called Perverted By Language. This is a band that started in 1977, came out of Manchester, and they basically broke up when their lead singer, Marky Smith, died in 2017. They made 32 records. They had about the only constant in the band was lead singer and lyricist Marky Smith, who was something of a misanthrope, I guess you could say. He had over 50 people in the band throughout the entire length of the band.
Yeah. It's worse than the Dangers.
It may be, maybe comparable to. How did I get into The Fall? And I'm into a band called Pavement. And one day someone was like, if you like Pavement, you'll like The Fall, because they do sound a lot alike in some ways. So with this record, you can very much tell, and with a lot of their records, and with this one, it's my favorite right now. But next week it might be a different one that I put on, because there's a lot of variety in what they play. Very much influenced by bands like Can and Captain Beefheart, especially with like that repetitive nature of the music. And so with this one, the first song, it's like a 6-minute song with this repetitive bass line for 6 minutes, and the guitars in the background, and it's amazing. It's you wouldn't think it's so good, but it is.
Yeah.
And just how this kind of band has inadvertently influenced a lot of other bands that came after, how they outlived everybody from that era.
Yeah.
And it's a wonder that they kind of made it as far as they did. But I don't know. What do you know about The Fall?
I have a couple albums of The Fall.
Yeah.
I did not clue into they had. I knew that they'd been around forever.
Oh yeah.
So probably was listening to them early on in our Danger era, and it was just like another band that these guys are good.
Yeah.
And they're kind of trippy.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like the Maycons for me, where there's this music that, if you have this one Maycons album, doesn't mean that you've heard them.
Right.
You hear another album, it doesn't sound anything
Exactly.
like it. Probably between the two albums, they sound so dissimilar. I probably forgot that they were the same band.
Sure.
I probably thought that there was something else.
Same singer and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. He sings with a very obvious, Manchester accent. The lyrics are. I mean, the first time you hear them, it's like you're rewarded with repeat listens, because there's a lot of little jokes he makes, and a lot of the language you have to kind of dissect, which is someone who loves the written word. It's just why I like the band so much, and what they kind of give you. It's very challenging. It's definitely something if you put on at a party, not everyone's going to stick around for, right?
Well, it could be very useful.
Yeah, if you want to clear the room at the end of the night, or if you want to send someone home, then you definitely put this on. But this particular record, Perverted by Language, it's very, as you can imagine, very wordy in comparison to other records that they've done. But I think it's 1984, if I'm not mistaken. It's a fun record. It's very fun to listen to, very different, and highly recommend this band. If it's not this record, it's any of their other 31 records.
Yeah. But who's counting?
Exactly. And I believe Marky Smith had a birthday recently, but he passed in 2017. He had kidney and lung cancer. I mean, he very much abused his body for many years. So, but
32 albums that's a legacy.
It's quite an output.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah. So that's my pick for Brown Box, The Fall.
So we have The Fall.
And
even though they didn't quite make it to 32 albums,
they may have, though, if you stuck around a little longer.
That's true. Hung out. If Paul started to boss them around. No.
Right. Yeah. It fired everyone. Yeah.
Keep firing them. Making them all go home.
Yeah.
So two seemingly contrasting albums, but here's a band that will challenge you just by their diversity, right?
Absolutely.
And here's a band that are challenging themselves just to get it done. So I think that's a pretty cool Brown Box for this session.
Totally. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Brown Box. We'll come back some other day with another edition of Brown Box with some more records for you.